Somewhere off this coast tonight, something enormous is finishing a journey that started before you were born. You do not have to see it to know it is out there. The air already tells you. A change in the cold, a change in the way the wind carries, heavier somehow than ordinary sea wind. That is not something you are imagining. That is simply what air does near something that large, that old, that cold. It broke away from an ice sheet in Greenland years ago. No ceremony, no audience, just a piece of something ancient becoming its own shape. The way a wave becomes separate from the sea without ever choosing to. Ever since, it has been traveling, not toward anything, not away from anything, just moving, flowing with the current, because the current is the only thing it has ever needed to listen to. It did not choose this coast. It did not choose this particular night. The Labrador current chose for it the way a river chooses where water goes, the way water has never once needed permission to go anywhere. You are not watching it happen. You could not see it, even if you tried, from here in the dark. And that is fine. It does not need your witness to be real. It has been doing this, melting, drifting, quietly becoming smaller the entire time, whether or not anyone stood on this bluff to notice. Every so often, there is a sound, faint, carried on the wind, a crack, a low groan, almost too deep to notice at first. Not alarming, not sudden enough to be a warning of anything, just the sound of something old releasing. Inside that ice is air older than anything you have ever breathed. Trapped there long before this coastline had a name, sealed under the weight of centuries of snow, pressed smaller and smaller until it became part of the ice itself. It has been waiting without impatience for exactly this. One small crack at a time, one low groan at a time, back into the same sky it left so long ago. You do not need to picture the shape of it. You only need to hear it. The way you would hear a house settle at night. A floor creak under the weight that is not yours. Or the soft give of an old wooden chair when someone finally stands up and leaves the room. Small sounds, nothing urgent, nothing that needs your attention to keep happening. And underneath those cracks, a steadier sound. Water against ice. The same unhurried rhythm you would hear anywhere water meets something solid, against a hull, against a shore, against a stone worn smooth by years of the same patient touch. The ice does not resist that water. It never has. It is dissolving into the very current that carried it here. And it is in no hurry to stop. That is the whole of it tonight. Not a shape to imagine, just a sound arriving in the dark from something that has been quietly becoming something else for longer than you have been alive. This piece of ice did not arrive quickly. Most of what drifts past this coast has been traveling for 2, sometimes 3 years, carried first by one current, then handed to another, the way something might be passed gently from hand to hand without ever once being dropped. It began as part of something much larger, an ice sheet in Greenland, itself built from snow that fell and pressed and packed into ice over centuries, sometimes longer than that. By the time the piece finally broke free and became its own entity, its own thing, drifting on its own current, the snow at its core had already been ice for longer than most languages have existed to describe it. None of that travel was hurried. It was never going to arrive sooner by trying. There was no version of this journey where the ice pushed harder, swam faster, or found a shortcut through the current. It simply went where the water carried it, at the pace the water moved, for as long as that took. And the water was never in a hurry either. Two years, 3 years, thousands of years before that, held inside an ice sheet, waiting, without waiting, for a moment that was never being counted down toward. And still, tonight, it is not done. It is still traveling, still dissolving, still becoming something smaller than it was yesterday, without once treating that as a problem to solve. You have been awake for one day, restless, maybe for a handful of nights before that. It might help, just for a moment, to let your own timeline sit next to this one. Not to minimize what you are feeling, but simply to notice how much patience is possible. How something can travel for years, be dissolving the entire way, and never once experience that as running out of time. The ice is not disappearing. It only feels that way if you think of it as something that needs to stay whole to still exist. But else does not stop being. It simply stops being ice. The water it becomes is still the same water that has been circling this planet since long before there were coastlines to name. Long before there was anyone to stand on a bluff and notice. It will move on into the current, into the tide, into some other shape entirely. Rain eventually, or frost, or the inside of a wave breaking somewhere you will never see. Nothing about it ends. It only stops holding its shape for a while. That is the part worth resting in tonight. The ice was never trying to stay ice forever. It was never resisting the warmth of this water. Never racing against the current that is slowly, gently taking it apart. It simply allowed itself to be carried, and then allowed itself to be changed without treating either one as a loss. You do not have to hold on to any particular shape tonight either. Not the shape of today. Not the shape of this star, or that worry, or whatever version of yourself has been doing the holding. You can let it soften the way ice softens into water. Without that softening, meaning anything is being lost. Only changed. Only continuing in a form that does not need to be watched or witnessed or understood to keep quietly being real. Somewhere off this coast, it is still out there. Still cracking. Still hissing. Still becoming water. One quiet piece at a time. No one needs to watch it. No one needs to name the moment it finally let go of being ice. It was never trying to stay. Not one thing left to hold on to. Just the current. Carrying everything. The way it always has. The way it still is. Even now. Good night.